Well, hello there, space adventurers. Diggrok here, and you will notice I am in a new game. This is Starship Evo. Now, Starship Evo isn't necessarily a new game. It came out in 2020 and it's still in early access, such as the life of indie game dev. But what is new to this game is, as of the end of March here, we now have survival in Starship Evo. So I have had this game on my watch list for quite some time. I actually even bought it during a sale recently. And the only thing that really was keeping me out of it big time was that there wasn't much of a gameplay loop. But now with survival, we do in fact have a gameplay loop. So I've been kind of learning the ropes of this game, and as you can see down below, I've already sort of got a little basic little production facility set up. But the next step of this game is to go to space and get to outer space. And to need that, we are going to need a spaceship. So I thought I would make this little video showing the process of building a spaceship to get off planets and explore the next adventures of the survival game mode of Starship Evo. And I actually want to be a little bit ambitious with this in that I actually want to put this production facility onto my spaceship. So that way I can sort of fly around the surface here to get any resources I need and not have to worry about running around everywhere on my hoverboard. And also, I don't know what space is going to have in store or if we're even able to return back to here. So we're going to take my rudimentary spaceship here and turn it into a much bigger ship, an entirely different ship as a matter of fact, and get out into space and see what's going on up there. So first things first, a sort of new mechanic with the updates is we now have these construction anchors. So no longer do starting blocks, when you place them in the air, do they stay floating there in anti-gravity mode. You actually have to have one of these installed if you don't want your ship to fall out of the sky when you're not on it, and this will just help you build it easier. And then once you're done with your ship, you can take this thing off of here. But as you can see, if I were to delete this, the ship would fall out of the sky. So we're going to need that in order to just be able to dampen our ship and be able to stay afloat here on the planet. All right, and this will also allow it to stay airborne while it's out of power. As you can see, my batteries here are dead because I have these reactors with no hydrogen hooked up to it. So putting all this production onto the ship is going to require a pretty good sized ship, and I'm going to need a good amount of hydrogen for that as well. We already have a water plant set up processing hydrogen, but I already know I'm going to need to make the hydrogen tanks for that plant bigger, so I'm just going to go ahead and upgrade the size of our hydrogen tanks. While our tanks are building, I am going to start sort of stripping this thing down. I kind of know the general form factor I want. Essentially, we're going to have a walkway through the back, which is going to have an airlock so we can have a safe space. And then the production will kind of be off to the sides of it with the arc furnace. I'm assuming this probably has to be on the outside of the ship because I don't think it'll want to be on the inside with all the smoke. So we'll have that as a feature that sort of is on the outside of the ship. So one thing to just sort of cover real quick about why I think Starship Evo has the potential to be like quite an amazing game is the building system. So you can see we can get a pretty small grid on here and we can cycle through some different sizes of blocks. Not only that, but when we are placing blocks, we can have symmetry on our ships. So let's go ahead and put some symmetry on our ship. But when we have things like slopes, you can actually click and drag and create the exact slope you want and like heights and everything like that. So like you don't need to like greeble like we have for other games like Space Engineers, so we have to greeble a bunch of slopes. You can actually just like draw in your slopes just as easily as this. And same with like if you want that to have a little arch on it or something. Oops, hang on. Like if you need this slope to come down angled like that and then like maybe go out, you can do some like really cool like sloped armor stuff super easily. You can make some pretty thin ships with this build system. So this build system is really powerful, and there's a lot of really cool like little greebling blocks we can do, and like handrails and ladders and all kinds of things like that. So you can actually get really creative with builds in this game, which is what caught my eye with it the most. And now that we have survival, I have a reason to actually build some of these things. So we're going to sort of strip this thing down a little bit and take it apart and turn it into a bigger ship. And I think the first thing I want to test is even if arc reactors can be on ships. I don't even know if that's possible. So I think the first thing we're going to do is just test that. Let's empty our arc furnace here. And we will just delete it. And now we'll add it to our inventory. And then we'll take it over here and see if it will let us place it on. And it seems that it does. And it's pretty big, so our ship's going to have to be a pretty decent size to accommodate this arc furnace, but we need this to be able to process gold and silicon and more advanced ore. So it's if we're going to be venturing out in space and mining, it's definitely something we're going to have. The other question is this the ship flyable with this much weight? So let's go ahead and grab some batteries here, and let's see how well we can fly with this thing. Oh, pretty good. Oh, wow. Okay. The game is a little bit arcadey, and you really can see that here with this this weight scenario. There's not much punishment, it seems like, to have all this extra weight, really. So yeah, I'm sure there's some calculations going on, and obviously I'm sure the lighter, the better your weight to thrust ratio, I'm sure the faster you go. But I didn't expect these little thrusters to be able to putz this thing around. So okay, it seems like we'll be able to do this. So now that we know it's more or less possible, let's start putting it together. But we're gonna, for now, want to keep this arc furnace back on our main base, so that way it can produce for us, because we are going to need a lot of components. We also have much more tanks now, so let's go upgrade our... Oh, we're also going to need some pipes, and let's go upgrade our water facility with these bigger tanks. We'll take our ship, because even though it's going to die really fast with my limited batteries, it's much faster than running down here or using a hoverboard. These have been working down here for a minute, so they should be full. 1,200 stored of hydrogen, and this should be full of oxygen. Mostly just going to want more hydrogen, so I'm just going to build a decent-sized hydrogen tank here. And it's cool, you can sort of drag things to any shape, so you can kind of make this little power cell here. So fuel stored hydrogen. Let's just pipe this up. Okay, even though it doesn't look like it's connected, that little extension there should mean it was connected, so we should start seeing, yep, volume stored already. It's taking on hydrogen. All right, so we will let that do its thing and just generate some fuel for us, and let's go back and keep working on our ship. Since our construction anchor is at the front here to keep this thing afloat even when it runs out of power, I'm going to leave this front half together, and we'll just work on the back end, getting our production in here and making room for everything. And because we have that anchor, we can actually get rid of our thrust and even get rid of our power just to get it out of the way for now while we are building. Let's just expand this back part out so we can figure out how our production is going to be laid out. And I can already tell we're going to need much more scrappy holes, so let's just get a bunch more into production. And I'm just realizing that these small tubes are actually slowing my production down. You see, when you have a conveyor tube and you hover over a conveyor tube on the right, it shows you transfer time 8 seconds. But if I build this next size up, transfer time 2 seconds. So let's just go ahead and actually upgrade our full conveyor system here. Okay, now I can already see that the assemblers are working faster. But I'm noticing that only one receives it at a time. So I think that them being on the same line is actually making them slower. Only one can go at a time. So let's make separate lines here to our cargo container. So now the lines are separate, and now they are both cranking away a little faster now, which is more what we wanted, is to have them go at the same time. So I guess you have to keep your lines separate, or else it impacts the overall productivity, which didn't know until now. So huzzah. I think because this arc furnace is so large that I might opt for an asymmetrical design to be able to get it to fit, because no matter how you skin it, this thing is going to look ridiculous on a build. So I think if we have like more of a asymmetrical, boxy kind of industrial look, I think that might fare better for this this block to be on here. The other option could be to build on top of the arc furnace, where I have my cockpit up here now, and use the arc furnace as sort of a central sort of agreeable element, kind of maybe build everything underneath of it, sort of like a 2-story industrial ship kind of thing. I think that could be pretty interesting. So I think I might roll with this for a second and see where it takes me. So let me just keep building here. Okay, so our arc furnace is going to kind of be in the front here, and I rotated it because there is certain symmetry only on one side, certain geometry. So this pipe's kind of being low might be interesting. And I think underneath of it, I will also have my cargo bay down there as well. And then off the sides of those will be our fuel tanks. And we'll see how the ship shapes up. I'm not, I sort of have a rough idea of the shape I know I want, but whether I will achieve it now that I've decided on this, we will find out. Also having it build some life support and some blast doors. And I also had some ladders created, because we're going to need some of that to kind of get around the inside. And we're going to want the blast doors to kind of make an airlock in order to ensure we're not burning through all of our oxygen. We'll also need to make some type of like canopy or something with the windows. And we have these basic canopy blocks. Also, I'm going to want this thing to mine, so I'm going to have the mining beam. And I'm also going to need a collector to be able to collect what it mines. The laser will break up the ore, and then the collector will pick it up. Okay, so now we have storage. This holds 20,000. How much does this one hold to contrast? 32,000, and it's only 11% full. And we've been able to build quite a bit with that. So I think this storage should be fine for now. And I want this area to be like somewhat accessible. So I think I'll leave this side open just to be able to access all this stuff in case I need to get in here for a future purpose. But we do need to conveyor things. So make sure our storage is conveyed to our arc furnace. And off the sides of the furnace is where I want the tanks to be. So we're going to put in just some support here. I'm going to need way more tanks than what I have now. And it appears I am out of scrap, so we're going to go get some scrap. And I can already see that we are going to be needing more resources pretty quickly, so we're going to put this mining laser on here. And at least be conveyored to be able to start collecting more resources using our ship for that, because our ship will be able to collect that a little faster than our character can. Okay, so now we have the collector and the mining beam on here. And the collector is conveyed into our cargo port. I think I need to assign the beam to be part of our weapon for our ship. I think I have to connect this to here. No. To the help guides. I need an event gate. Okay, so that's set there. So I believe now, yep, we can click and we have our beam. And I don't remember how to, I don't know how exactly to modify that. Oh, the beam kind of follows the, that's pretty cool. I wonder if we can also link this to our collector. So the collector comes on whenever we use our trigger. Yeah, it does. Cool, so it won't collect unless we have our mining activated. So now I just won't be passively running around and collecting mines. And we still need to install our tanks on here. Let's get all of our tanks we have. We're going to need to fill this thing up with hydrogen to be able to put reactors on here to be able to fly around and not burn a bunch of power. Then we can start using this thing to mine. Okay, so the fuel's all connected. Now we got a connection to some reactors. And I think I'm going to need way more reactors than what I have. I have a pretty small reactor base here, not very big. So let's get some more reactors. Now, one thing I'm not sure yet is the best way to transfer hydrogen into the ship. I think there's some type of connector, docking connector, allows docking between the ships, transfer fuel or inventory when linked properly. So let's get 2 connectors so we can connect to our fuel station. And I'm just going to consult with the wiki real quick on the connector. Anything can dock as long as it has the same scale docking connectors, obviously. The docked entities will share inventories, both solid and non-solid. That's what I was wondering. Okay, so items will be freely moving between entities. However, fuel and other non-solids are handled differently. Each docking connector has an additional setting for how it will handle importing and exporting of substances. When set to none, the docking connector will not share its connected inventories. Refill will tell the connector to take fuel from the host entity. Okay, so we can set it to, we want to set it to refill. So let's take our 2 docks, because we're going to want to fill this thing up with fuel, and let's grab our reactors. Let's do a bigger connector, because I don't want to sit there waiting for it to refuel all day. Okay, so that should be connected. Now let's put our reactor on here. Okay, find out soon enough if that reactor is big enough or not. Now we need to go add a connector. Well, first of all, let's configure this to refill. All right, sit it on the ground. Maybe it'll burn less fuel doing that. Okay, so in theory, I should be able to build a pipe here and slap a connector on it. So that to push fuel. So how do I target R? R? Okay, got it. Targeted. Oops. Ah. Request docking. Docking started. Okay, they're locked. So now I should be receiving power, or receiving fuel. I'll go to the tank. Tank's getting fuel. All right, we're getting fuel. Haha. We've refueled. How much fuel does this thing have? 338? Didn't store that much. I probably need to give this thing more power to get more hydrogen. I'm going to be burning through hydrogen. I'd also, what I would like to do is take apart this whole system and actually just put this whole system on the ship, so the ship itself will be accepting water, storing water, and then converting it to fuel. But I'll need more tanks because I'll need to have a tank for oxygen and then a tank to store water. Oh, and I need to pipe this to my reactor as well. Okay, that's running. Got an achievement for linking a reactor to a tank with pipes. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the reactor's working. Our batteries are charging. So if I take one of my dead batteries now, put it on here. Oh, look at that charge up. Yeah. Wow, reactors are pretty good, seems. All right. Regardless, we have fuel now. Our speed sucks though, so we're gonna need to upgrade our thrusters because this is this is pretty unbearable. And I'm gonna need 2 more small tanks, one for oxygen and one for the holding tank to take on water. This one will hold oxygen. This one will hold water. Okay, that should give us more speed. Yep, a little faster now. Excellent. Sure, we could still use more angular thrust or whatever the other side perpendicular thrusting is called. I see them drifting a little bit. But we'll get to that once we get more armor on. Just putting our form factor together more or less right now. I am going to try to mess around with these windows. Okay, now we've got some windows around that. Starting to look more like a ship now because of that. How do we fit up here? Oh, it's still too short for me though. Which I think just means we'll lower the floor behind the seat. Basically just been adding more armor to this thing and realizing this thing is much bigger than I really thought it was going to be. And I kind of want to like redo it, but it's such like a pain in the butt to like take everything apart and have like fuel in the tanks already. I don't really want to take the fuel tanks all apart. Doesn't go super fast. Could use more thrust. Still got more weight to add too, so still gonna keep building up on that. Needs more side thrust, definitely. There's unfortunately not a way to like build stuff in creative in survival. Like, it's like you kind of want to like, I would kind of like to build this stuff in creative so I don't have to like worry about making stuff, but then it's just like kind of pointless because you can't bring it in survival, and like you can say stuff you made in survival in this instance, and then that's pretty much it for that. It's kind of useless at that point. Yeah. I'm curious to know if it's able to process ore with the power I have or not. So I'm just gonna go run a quick test. Saying this isn't gold, but this looks like gold to me. Oh yeah, this tears through ground ore. Man, sucks for scrapping, but holy smokes. So I'm kind of hoping I can just like get to space and trade or something. Wow, that just eats ground ore. Wow, it's too bad it's really bad at getting scrap because it's really great at getting ore. Now the question is, does the arc furnace work? Let's go to our furnace here. Let's find connected inventories. It will go. Sucking through batteries. It's not sucking through batteries, which means my power is holding. Current power draw 110 ES. Power generated 1038. Does it look ridiculous when I'm in this view? It's just smoking out the front. It is just kind of smoking. I was curious to know what the... Okay, so the smoke just moves with you as you fly. I was kind of curious to know how that was going to resolve. So I think bigger thrusters all around, more thrusters all around would be good. Since this is processing, I could move my assemblers and everything onto the ship, and I can pretty much get rid of my start base if I want to. I'm just gonna have an extra arc furnace, which is hilarious because I have no use for it. But at least the proof of concept is working. So what we'll need next is definitely more thrusters and kind of just button up the backside a little bit. I think the ship's gonna look ridiculous, but the main goal is just to get into space and see what's happening up in space. So let's make some more thrusters. Okay, so we got much more thrust now. Let's see how it did to our performance here. Oh yeah. Still not super fast, because I don't have a ton of rear thrust, but definitely way more maneuverable now. Mr. Nimble. So I'm not loving this back area with this ladder and this door. I almost just want to maybe knock this piece out and just have the access be back here with maybe just a ladder going up to here. And we'll have kind of an airlock system because this is not going to be air sealed. I already know that. So we can put like a blast door in the back and a blast door to seal this off. And then otherwise you can climb up into here, get up into the cockpit that way. I think that's probably going to be the better approach. Okay, so now that I'm kind of sort of dialing where everything on the inside is going to be, I say dialing loosely because I am not a fan of this ship at all, but we're just going to keep pressing forward. I'm ready to move my assemblers into here now, which means that pretty much everything can move into this ship now. So I'm going to, I guess, just take these apart and figure out how to put them inside this ship. And then we'll unload this cargo down here and have everything consolidated into one ship. And I would really recommend when you're building to use the clipping mode. So you can press F5 to turn on clip mode, and it makes it just way easier to get in here. Like, this had a piece of like thin conveyor missing, but from over here you couldn't really tell. So getting into clip mode can allow you to like get into these areas like super tight and clip through the grid to make sure everything's put together. So definitely a useful feature to have. Okay, so now that we know with these assemblers here, kind of what our space is, we can compact this even more, move the battery cells over, and basically just move this whole wall closer to the front of the ship as we can. And my goal is to have this cockpit area be as small as I can so I can sort of slope the armor down from this cockpit down into the rest of this area and make it look like a natural part of the ship and not so much this just thing that bulges out the top of the ship. Okay, so this is basically the general outline as you come in through this blast door. You have this little kind of open area here. It's not really truly an airlock per se. You'll kind of lose some air as this opens and closes. But yeah, the plan is to just have a sort of an area down here. Walk up there to get in pilot seat. And then this area, which isn't really is going to be as airtight. But here we want to slope this armor down from up here. So let's delete all this armor and try again. Okay, at least this now is to a point where the internal is sealed. So now we can see that O2 is nominal. So the life support is now working. If I were to open a door, it will say leak. And if I close the door, it will rise back up again. So at least this thing is sealed for space now. Speaking of which, I don't have a helmet yet, and I probably should craft a helmet. And it looks like there's a few styles of helmets actually, which is pretty cool. I didn't actually realize that. Let's go with this one. Let's put a helmet on, and then H for helmet. Aha! Big headed goofy boy. So technically I think I can go to space now. I still don't have oxygen in that oxygen tank though, and I still don't have a scoop, and I'd also like to greeble this just a little bit more, but it technically would go to space right now. Since this base is no longer anything anymore, I'm gonna go fly down to the water area, and let's see if we can do something about getting the fuel scoop on this thing. It's looking more like a ship though, but still gotta touch up our greebling a little bit. So in order for this thing to scoop in its own fuel, if I in fact want it to scoop in its own water, I need to add in this sort of fluid harvester. Need to add it kind of opposite of our other collector over here, and then pipe it into this holding tank. Which can I name this? Let's say. Okay, cool. I was wondering about this, about the life support system and where the oxygen came from. So there is a provide oxygen to life support, and it says this tank can provide oxygen to life support without needing piping. So that's pretty cool. So this now goes to the life support system without having to be piped up. So love that. But I still need to pipe this oxygen tank up over to the to our electrolyzer. Okay, it took a fair amount of piping to get here, but here we have our electrolyzer, which is hooked to our water tank. So we got the water tank as the input, and then it will come out of here and go into our hydrogen tank, which I should probably name this hydrogen tank 1. And then we have the second pipe, which comes up over here and over and down, and that goes to our oxygen tank. And these hydrogen tanks, these are connected through this throughput here, so those are connected that way as well. Okay, so I've hooked this switch now to my electrolyzer. So now I can turn off the electrolyzer on and off using the switch, and that should help me conserve my power. I don't want to be draining everything on my ship. Okay, at this point, so I could make these thrusters bigger and start upgrading stuff. What I think I would like to do is just button this up and just get to space and see what even is out there in space, what's offered up out there anyway. And maybe there's some way to buy more resources, refuel, that sort of thing. So I don't have to really worry about these subsystems as much as I'm worrying about them right now. So I'm just going to greeble this up and let's just get to space. Okay, and at last we have our little production and space-worthy little vessel without really much of a name. Doesn't really have much of a name. I don't really know what space is going to hold for us. So at least we have a worthy vessel to take up there, and it has a full production system inside of it as well. So let me give you a little tour of the inside. Oh, and first on the outside here, we have our connector to dock to another entity. We have a collector for our mining beam, which is over here, along with the antenna, and this is our fluid harvester. Otherwise, in the back here, we have a little blast door to get in here. And we have a med bay, and once these doors are sealed, we can then utilize our life support. Got some batteries in here, and here is the little production area. Close that. And then upstairs, we have access to our cockpit area. Take a seat. Here we have sensors for both of our hydrogen tanks to show us our fuel levels, and our fuel levels are very low because I was having a power issue with everything, because the electrolyzer uses a ton of power. So I had to install a bunch of solar panels out on our wings there and up against the cockpit, and that just that gives us enough to turn off our reactor and be able to convert water we collected into fuel. And then we have our H2O tank to tell us how much oxygen or how much water we have that we're converting to fuel. Obviously our oxygen level. Here we can turn our electrolyzer on and off. Here we can turn our life support on and off. Like when we're just on Earth and I'm running in and out, I don't really bother letting it cycle. And this side is just activating our headlights on and off. And then here we have the reactor on and off, because the reactor will burn through fuel more than it can produce it with electrolyzer. So I don't usually have the reactor on when doing electrolyzer. And this slider over here is just to dim the lights inside of our ship. And I just realized that when you paint thrusters, the color changes. Like I didn't paint the side ones, so that's the regular blue, but the back I painted black, and now the thruster color is black. I didn't know that was going to be a thing. And I don't like the black, so let me try a different color. Ah, nifty. Yeah, so you can change the color, so you can make them all red if you want to. That's pretty cool. I guess we'll just make them red just for the heck of it. Huh. Nifty, nifty. All right, so we're going to go to space, I think. Next is the next step, I believe. Let's make sure I didn't miss any progression elements on the mainland here. So finally, it's time to leave the planet, get some sunstone from the nearby asteroids, and craft a light cruise engine. Don't forget to bring a helmet, a jetpack, and place an antenna on your base to find your way back. So I guess we're going up to space to get some sunstone from the asteroids, which will let us build an engine, which I didn't really accommodate to have room for. So I guess we'll go up and do that. So we'll turn our life support on. I don't know if we have enough fuel, so this is going to be interesting. I don't think we need the reactor for this either. We might actually. We'll turn the reactor on, even though it kind of burns through a little bit of fuel. Let's see if we can get to the asteroids. So you can press tab to enter into a faster drive. See how fast we can get going. The heck is... all that stone is like flying up with me? Oh, the vehicle ran out of power. Why? I have hydrogen. My reactor's on. Burning hydrogen. Vehicle ran out of power. Oh, turn my electrolyzer off. That's why. Using all my power for the electrolyzer. See if we can get by without the reactor. I'm going at the sun, so can't really charge my solars while I'm doing this. Turn my reactor back on. Charge back up again. I guess nothing else, I just turn my battery. So in the bottom left is the power I have. So if nothing else, I can disable the reactor when I have a charge. Then when I need to charge up again, turn the reactor on to get my charge back. So this is actually pretty crazy. There's actually a lot of asteroids up here. I did not expect this to be such a dense field. I mean, it's an astrofield. I expected it to be dense, but you never know what games can and can't support. I'm actually... Oh, it's officially reached space according to that achievement. Officially in space. Nice. Nothing left back on this planet. I took everything off the ground and it is all in this ship. I don't know how close actually that event is. 6,700 kilometers away. Okay, because you press R to target things. We are not going to catch up to that without a light cruise engine, so disregard that. Alright, let's see what we got on this first asteroid here. Guess nothing? Boy, if we're going to have to stop at every asteroid and scan it, we're going to lose some power, that's for sure. Good news is my reactor is off, and when I face the sun, I charge pretty quickly with the solar panels. So that's good. So we'll try to keep us somewhat oriented to the sun. Iron and coal. Got some gold. Oh, wait a minute. Look at this. These crystals are gold. Could these perchance be the crystals we are looking for? Let's position this towards the sun. What I don't know is how to refill my O2. Oh, and my O2 is telling me there's a leak. That's not good. That's super not good. Where is there a leak? That could be anywhere. We didn't have a leak on Earth, or on our planet. So that's weird. Okay, it's working now. It was just bugged? Strange. We'll turn it off though when we go outside here. Yeah, now my O2's full. Okay, that was the issue. Something just weird. I had to cycle that, I guess. And that, close that. Check these gold crystals out. That's a paint gun. Sunstone. Got some. How much sunstone do we need? Let's dump this sunstone in here. We need to build a light cruise engine, so let's see how much we need for that. Light cruise engine. We need 3 gravity units, 6 plates, frame, so gravity units. Gravity units require 4 sunstones for each one, so I need 16 sunstone. And I also need cobalt, which I haven't found cobalt yet. Battery's full, that's good. With our reactor off, so we're saving our hydrogen. All good news. Actually, because there's so much sunlight up here, I'm actually going to turn my electrolyzer on and just generate some more. Oh yeah, I'm already halfway down on oxygen. That's crazy. And generate some more hydrogen. Oh, that's eating my energy, actually. Shoot. Might just have to turn it on and off, and then charge, and then turn it off again. Power's a real issue. I need to make more solar panels, then I can electrolyze while I'm flying around like this. Well, this journey is clearly going to take a minute to get all these sunstones to be able to get our light cruise engine, and I also know that on the other end of getting to that gate is going to be a pirate, so I'm also going to eventually need to stock this thing up with some firepower. But I think we're going to have to save that for another video. But at least we have a ship that is space-worthy and got to explore some of this beautiful asteroid ring that's in this game. The game does look really good and runs pretty smooth. I'm pretty impressed with it overall. And I'm super glad that we now have a survival loop to actually be able to do stuff in this game rather than just make stuff in creative. Thanks to Starship Evo for supporting this video. And if you want to see more Starship Evo content, be sure to hit that subscribe button because I will definitely be having this game in rotation because it's pretty fun and there's a decent loop already in it right now, and I'm actually really excited to see what happens when I get to the gate and get to start messing with factions and start punching up against some pretty big fighters and stuff. So definitely a lot to explore and figure out with this game. But hopefully you found this video useful. If you did, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will catch you guys later. Godspeed, engineers.